Welcome to part 2 of the decorating.
Yep.
It's exciting.
It is.
I am ready to finish this project. We're not going to tell you what it is yet because we want to make sure that we finish it and that it comes out the way we want it.
Oh, the special project.
The special project.
Yes.
But also, we just want it to be a surprise.
Yes.
So it's something different. It's not Christmassy. It's just something we want out for Christmas as part of our decor.
Right.
And we've been working on this project, looking for the right materials.
Yeah.
But as you know, we always use free or cheap materials.
Yes.
So we're going to explain more about that after in the outro. So here we are. About to decorate. We're
Yes.
going to decorate the
Some more.
outside.
Yes.
So I started a little bit, remember last week, so we're kind of continuing that. It's evening now. We don't usually do our intros in the evening, but we're doing it tonight because we're going to get up bright and early, and we're going to try to capture some beautiful pictures.
It's supposed to be snowing in the morning.
Of the
so
snowfall.
Yes.
So we're supposed to get some, we did get a sneak peek last night, and when we were starting, we were doing our garland outside on one of our arbors, and we just kind of just stopped in the middle of it and just took it all in.
Yeah, it started to snow last night. It was beautiful.
It was. I say last night, but it was actually like 4 o'clock, but
It was
everything
dark.
gets
It was getting
super dark
dark.
now,
Yeah.
even early. But it was a wonderful, wonderful evening, a great start. So we've been going through the whole day yesterday, we've been doing some today, and now we're just kind of gonna wrap it up tomorrow. So we're doing our intro now because we want to be ready tomorrow to get to work.
Yes.
So decorating and
some holiday decorating and a special
a
project.
special project.
Yes.
So we hope you enjoy it, and come on and let's see what happens.
Let's do this. The effect we're trying to look for was to round off the top of this. It's going to be tricky to say the least. I'm not really sure if I can accomplish it, but I will try. First I'm going to take this door off and try to use my jigsaw to cut this around it off here, and then I'll have to get in and try to cut the body at different angles. So let's see what we can do. Keep enough on there to keep the hinge on. It has to be a little higher up maybe. We'll see. Let's start by taking that door off. Well, either way I slice it, that's going to be in the way of the hinge. So I guess I'm going to have to take that hinge off and move it, and we'll have to move the notch on the clock as well. Let's see how it goes. This jigsaw has been pretty temperamental since I got it secondhand. Let's see if it's gonna do anything at all. It worked a second ago. Alright, time to hit that with a sander. Trying to straighten it out a little bit, smooth it out. You may think I'm crazy here, but I'm kind of at a loss as to how to cut this, so I'm going to try to get a rough angle cut with the chop saw. So stand back. Okay, that got kind of gave me a start anyways. Do the same on the other side. Just going to finish off those cuts with the back saw. Alright, I'm going to cut a little bit more to round it off a little bit better. Oh, lost some support there, but we may not need that anyways. There we go, done. What do you think, folks? All done? It's a little dusty, I'll have to dust it up a bit, but I think we're all set.
Well, it's got the round shape, that's for sure, so that's good.
Getting there.
It's a start. Looks a bit of a mess right now, but I think it's going to all come together. If I know Paul, he'll pull all this together. I know so, and it's going to look great. And like we both said, it was free. So
Nothing lost if it doesn't
right.
come out.
And I might save the clock parts for something else if it doesn't work out, but my hope is that we can create this grandfather clock. I'm not fretting.
Good. Don't fret. So on the side of the road we picked up this broken, I guess, kind of a hope chest kind of a thing. It's an MDF thing. It was all broken apart. But I'm going to butcher it and use some of the pieces for our clock project. We're just going to trim the top and the bottom off of this to make it fit the size that we need.
So we're going to now paint this clock. We have to because of the redness of the stain. It's a cherry wood. We had to do a primer first, and then we're going to do a black paint over it so it doesn't go through. We don't want that bleeding through that redness in the wood. So we're going to do that black, and then we're going to go back over and do white again. I know it's crazy and it seems like a long and crazy process, but it's going to come out so much better by doing it this way. I'm going for a white look on the clock to mix in with our, if you see like this wood that Paul used, well, MDF I believe it's called, but this type of wood is definitely a certain type of coloring, and we had put, because he attached these two pieces together, we had done a molding, which I think is going to make it look so nice. We're going to try to blend it. If it doesn't come out great, then we'll go with a different color. We're going to try the white clock along with that part here, along with this wood. If it still doesn't look right, we're going to try to blend all of it together to make it look cohesive. Let's give it a shot. So the first thing on my list is we brought this, do you remember this autumn tree? If you've been with us for a little while, you saw that we did this awesome autumn tree for the fall for our living room. We love it. It was a cement block that we had made with this concrete mix, and we had basically cut a big branch from our property, and we put Dollar Tree colored faux leaves and hot glued them. Sadly, I have to take them off, but we had to take it out of the house. So what we're going to do is actually have it outside here near our pond area. Sorry about the rickety camera. I'm moving this while I have these in my hand. So excuse the rickety camera. So basically, I'm going to take these off and hang some snowflakes. Some of these are glued on really, really well.
Oh, I bet.
Now, if you're very careful with these, you can keep these for next year, the leaves and also the branch. But if not, it's a very inexpensive, simple project to do. But I'm trying to be very cautious, at least for this year, maybe even next year, to get more use out of it. So we took the leaves off, and now I'm going to put these lovely little snowflakes on and just pick like a branch. Now these are from Dollar Tree. You can get a pack of them in a plastic container. I don't know how many come in. I've had these for years, but they still do sell them. And I'm just basically going to hang it from the strand. And I realize like when these are super thin, I'm going to try to double up on the branches, just so it'll stay. If they fall, I'll pick them up. But I'm not going to hot glue these on just because they come with a strand, and I want them to feel like they're dangling off it. But also they'll be easier to remove. These would be a little tougher than the leaves to remove, I would think. So we're just going to hang these a bunch at a, and they get caught on these little teeny nubs where the flower buds would have been. Okay, leaf buds. So basically I'm going to just start doing that, and I'll show you how it all turns out.
So Gina asked me to build something to go around that cement block on the bottom of that tree. So I took some scrap wood I had and just threw together this little box.
So a couple weeks back, if you've been watching, you saw that we had redone our son's bedroom, and we had used these free on the side of the road bifold closet doors. And this particular one, we used like 2.5, was it? We used about 2.5 of the, well, 3 bifold sections. And this one section was left, and we knew we'd use it for something eventually. I asked Paul if we could use one of those. Then I wanted like the detail on the outside. It didn't quite come together with the detail, but and maybe in essence I would have maybe done the outside from the inside, but it's cute. It's already painted. It was painted black when we had picked it up, and the top I would have normally stained it, but I think I'm going to leave it the natural wood, because we'll probably only get a season or 2 out of this. But I thought it'd be a great opportunity to put that tree so it doesn't look like a big concrete block. What's showing of it, I'll probably put a little greenery around it, and what's left, that grayish white left on the cement, it'll look almost like touched by snow, hopefully, along with the snowflakes hanging. But he pulled that together in about 10-15 minutes. So there it is in place. It's rough, the detailing it shows, but it's not an intentional design because of the way we had to cut the door. There was only one panel left. But honestly, I really like a little bit of that detail, and I like the top, and I think it's so cute. We picked up these, well, my son did. He picked up these free lampshades. They were on the side of the road, and honestly I was going to take them apart. I was going to try to repair them. They're really stained, they're really yucky. So, but they're in perfect shape. They're otherwise, and they're really sturdy and strong. And I thought, oh my God, you know what? They look like bells. So I'm going to put these for our outside bells on our garland by our back arbor, the first one when you walk into the backyard. So I'm going to spray these down like I did last week. I'm going to have Paul, because I'm not in paint clothes, I'm going to have him spray down with, remember that awful spray? It's a good base. And then from there I'm going to take this gold and black paint and kind of tap it in. But we're going to spray this down and make them look like bells and string them from like a rope twine. So it'll be nice and sturdy, strong. I may add a little something at the bottom, a little clanger for the bell, but I may just leave it as it is. We'll see how they turn out. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's just the base. Some of it coming through looks great because it looks like a bell. We're going to get a little of the inside too, because we don't want to see any of that white color. Remember I said last time with the bells, folks, this is not something I would recommend. It really drips. It could be just a defective spray, but it's not giving me good vibes. So I probably wouldn't get this spray again. So definitely wear paint clothes if you do decide to use it. There are other brands that have a good bronze base. And I thought this was a trusted name, but for some reason this particular design is not a good design. All right, so we have our base, and we're just going to add the colors to it. I'm I'm gonna mix that gold and black together. We want it to be an aged, weathered look here. So we're kind of smudging it on with a sponge brush. I'm just blotting it to have it blend and look like an aged bell here. We want it to look like it got a little rusty in time. And maybe a little aged. Remember, I have like a gold. Is this gold paint? Craft paint. And the black craft paint. And together it gives that aged bell appearance. There we go. There's our bells. And the lampshade, they have this like little wire connecting, and this little thing in the middle where, I'm not sure what it's called, folks, sorry, where the light bulb screws in and it screws into the lamp itself. It was fine, but they're a little bit off, and it's okay to have them a little off kilter, but I really wanted it to be a little less. So Paul's kind of helping me try to find a balance here, but I wanted to show you we're trying to get it at a certain angle. Bring it to one of the spokes.
It should be around one of the spokes there, right? Oh, yeah. Now hold this.
Yeah, so the top of the spoke here, so I'm doing that after I strung it through the tube. You want to leave the extra twine so you can work with this. You can always trim it later. You want to see if you can work with it and kind of connect them a bit. You'd rather have longer than too short. So and then we have there. Now we have a couple of bells. I don't know if one looks like it's on top of the other, but the point was to have, and I'm wondering if I should have done the smaller one on the bottom, but I'm going to leave it like this. So now what I'm going to do is try to add a little piece of wood so it looks like a little clanger coming down from the bell. So you cut a piece for the large one to about what size?
This big. I don't know, 6-7 inches. I'm going to drill a hole into that.
So our little deck here is absolute mess, but it's necessary right now for our little make-do workshop. He's drilling a hole in the clanger. And once it's hanging from it, I'm just going to touch it up with a sponge, paint sponge, and a little bit of the paint, just because it's a little wood and some white on it as well. And we want to just make it a little more natural. Okay, and we're going to string that through.
I don't know if Gina expressed this to you, but it's freezing out here.
It really is. But you know what? For some reason, I'm having a ton of energy today and really enjoying it. Sorry, I kicked the camera, folks. It kind of jostled a bit. But we're having a fantastic day. At least I am. And it is very, very frigid cold. But when you're all bundled up and you're doing something creative, it can be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I'm having a great day.
Me too.
He's cursing me under his breath. He's saying, me too, but he's like mumbling something underneath. I can practically see the steam coming out of his ears.
No, that's just my breath because it's so cold.
He's going to keep driving it home, folks. On our wish list is definitely a heated workshop where we can work inside with actual outlets and electricity running through and heated, and we can do all kinds of projects. Look at that, how cute that
Is that
is.
hanging too low?
Nah.
It went lower than I wanted it to here. I wanted to...
Look at that.
Is that all right?
That's fantastic. there you have it. I attempted this wreath like 3 times. I just wasn't happy with it, and now I am finally satisfied. We do have a little bit of lankiness, kind of, or what's the word for it? A little messiness here and there sticking out, but I kind of like that. It makes it more natural. So basically what I used is I had a faux green wreath. Honestly, I've had this for a while. I have no idea where I got it from, but I used that as the base, and it's around a wire form. So I was able to use that as the form, and I just built off of that. I had these berries, these faux berries on a strand, and I decided to string that around, and it had to be tied better. I tried to just tuck it, and although it stayed, it looked like it would fall off with a good wind. So I just wired that down. I had from our Christmas tree that we get a real tree, and I had some, we really didn't cut much this year, so I only had like one strand really, or one branch. And that branch was for a couple things because it was a good sized branch. And this one, I just tucked that around. We have some arborvitae on the property. I cut that as well. We had some dried flowers from a plant that we had growing. I wish I could remember which plant it was, but I had that tucked here and there. And then I had done some orange slices. With orange slices, I was very impatient. To dry them, you can do it at like 200 degrees for many hours. I've tried it before. It doesn't work very well. They do tend, for me, because I do it in the oven, they do burn. So, you know, it has that burn look, but I use the other side where you can't see the burn marks. But anyway, I did it on 350 for an hour. And then I had it sit there. It's still somewhat soft, so it's not totally dry. The thicker it is, like when you have them real thin, I'm not an expert at this, folks, but I tried. It does dry the rind really well, but inside the fruit is a little soft. Maybe that's how it's supposed to be, I don't know. But I had that in there, and then I had this wire ribbon that I kept on there. I'd had this with it. It just looked very strange, so I just kept this. And there it is, a simple wreath, and I just used a floral wire to basically go through the orange and then wire it around. So that's our simple wreath. That's going to go on my side door on our side deck. So there you go. So these little bits that are real toasty, I'm not going to use, but some of them were cutting it close at the end. So I used the fresh cranberries and the oranges that I had dried out in the oven and put it on the floor wire, and I'm going to hang this probably with a little jute string to dress it up a little bit, and it's going to hang as a decoration outside, but also as a little treat for the birds. So what I have for you here is a potpourri for the stovetop, and I had these leftover dried slices of oranges that I used for a couple of projects, for my wreath and also for the birds outside. I wanted to dry them out, and some of them were kind of burnt, so I thought, okay, I have these pieces left. I don't like wasting anything. So I still had more oranges, so I used the rest of that, which is probably about a half an orange, and I did a whole orange. And I sliced it up. I added about a cup worth of cranberries, 2 cinnamon sticks, 3 would be better, but I had 2 left, 3 teaspoons of ground clove, 2 teaspoons of nutmeg, and 2 sprigs of rosemary, but what I had, you can use, but I used about a teaspoon of dried rosemary. And you fill that with a little water just below the rim, about an inch or so of water, and I'm letting it boil a little bit, and I'm going to start simmering it. probably going to let that run for about 15 minutes in the house simmering. So that will probably last for a few days, and it makes the house smell so Christmassy and so pretty, and it just has a really nice cranberry orange smell throughout the house. So I just wanted you to know, if you have leftovers, or maybe your cranberries are starting to go, maybe you had a bag of fresh cranberries, they're starting to turn a little bit, maybe your oranges are as well. Mine aren't starting to turn, but I had leftover of the dried oranges, and I had extra oranges, so I added that to it. Sprigs of rosemary would absolutely work best for this, but I had dried rosemary. You only need about a teaspoon because when it's dried, it really is a little more potent. So there's that, and I just wanted to use that up. I only had a couple of cinnamon sticks left over. However, 3 would be ideal. And also, you could use probably about a teaspoon of cinnamon as well. But just enough water. You can fill it up with water every now and then throughout today and the day you're doing it, and also when you go to redo it on the stove. It lasts for a few days if you're having a gathering or you just feel like that Christmas smell around your home. This is a perfect way to use up cranberries and oranges that need to be used up, and some lovely spices. So with some jute twine, I had at various lengths tied some pine cones, and now I'm going to gather it with a little bit extra. I'm going to gather maybe after, I don't know, maybe a foot. I'm going to gather and like triple knot it. And then that particular strand, I'm going to hang it on one side, and I'm going to do the same on the other side. And I triple knot it again, hanging from here. And this way you see the pine cones at different lengths. You can tuck them in slightly so you barely see them. You can leave them hanging. It's totally up to you. Now, normally I would cut this string, this excess, but I kind of like the natural look of it, so I'm going to leave that hanging. I really like that. We're going to do the same on the other side. So there's the finished garland. We used natural elements. These white pine branches were from our forest, and we had a little bit of our arborvitae left in a bunch that I was able to use from our other garland, from what we trimmed from our arborvitae. And we put that in the center. We used lots of jute twine, lots of floral wire, and mainly jute twine and whatnot. We also used pine cones from our forest, from our wooded area, and we had some dried flowers from wildflowers that had grown in the wild, and we had poked that at the top here. And then garland, just a little clump of it for the birds, of the cranberries and the oranges that I had put in the oven. And I had strung them on floral wire and then ended it with jute twine. A lot of the jute twine you could just trim off, but I loved how it tangled down in little tresses, almost like little wavy curls like you'd find in hair. I love that it had done that, and I wanted to keep it there, so I'm leaving it hanging like that. We also have the natural elements from the wisteria that had dried up into just the vines right now, off season, and I think it looks really great. And we have some dried grasses here that we leave for the birds. Most of the grasses. Some of them we have to trim back for safety so we can see when we're coming out of our driveway or whatnot. But a lot of them we do keep. And it looks really nice on the side there. And it just is a nice natural element for our arbor here. What do you think? So I had some leftover scraps, and I used of the arborvitae and a little bit left of our Christmas tree trimming, and some white pine and some pine cones, and our mums, our chrysanthemums that we had to cut back in the pot. So what I did is they're dried out, and I thought I added a little splash of color. Yes, we don't have a roof here on this deck, so yes, it will get snow on it. It may fall apart, but for now it looks nice. I had a nice rustic painted terracotta pot. It had some dirt and was messy inside. I've put my hoses away for the winter, so I couldn't clean it out, but I wiped it out the best I could, and I weighed it down with a piece of a brick and a good sized rock just to weigh it down so it doesn't fall over if we get a good brisk wind. And the terracotta pot is a little bit heavier than most anyway. I wouldn't have used a plastic pot for this. Plus it looks really nice. So I wanted a little splash of color. I know these are more fall and it doesn't quite go with the Christmas theme, but I thought with the greenery too, it looked really nice and dressed up this little table here on the deck. What do you think? So this is one of those famous pieces that Paul loves to pick up on the side of the road. And you know what? This one also has a purpose. He has been doing really well lately with finding pieces, whether we keep it or we sell it. It's just been great. So this particular piece was found. It's in perfect form. It's really, there's like a little chunk of wood right about here that got chunked off, but for the most part, it's in great condition. I don't want to go through the process of restaining it, of sanding it down, for two reasons. The first thing that's settled that in my mind is we ran out of sanding discs. I wanted to do this in a day, this project. It's been sitting in the shed. I didn't have it in me to go run to the store and get some sanding discs. But also, we did have sanding pads, like a sanding brick, and you can get that at Dollar Tree. So we had done that. I'm trying to look for it so I can show you. I do not see it. Sorry about that. When I find it, I'll show you. But we wanted to sand it down just lightly, enough for something to adhere to. I know there's a lot of, sorry about I'm doing laundry in the background, folks. Sorry about that. But there are a lot of purists out there who really love the wood and they get really upset when you touch this. This is older, so it is an antique. Well, it's vintage anyway. I'm not sure if it's totally antique, but it's vintage. And it's something that's in great shape. What I love about it, and Paul had to point it out because I didn't realize, look how nice this front is, but you don't realize that this is actually a hidden door, a drawer. So nice having a little hidden drawer. We're gonna place it in our kitchen for now because I actually have a purpose for it. And it's gonna be great painted. I apologize for those of you who really get squeamish and don't like when people just paint over things. I really do love to preserve wood when I can. This particular wood is very difficult because it has a reddish tint to it. So because of that, what's going to happen is no matter how much I sand it, and I'm going to use a gripper and different levels of paint, probably a black paint, and then go over it with white just to get that redness out. Sometimes you can do it like 10 times. It'll come through, bleed through like pink. That redness in the wood will bleed through. It is very, very hard to get rid of. And also for the look of our home, sometimes wood works, but in this particular spot where I want to put it in the kitchen and where this particular style I'm looking for, I want to paint it. So I needed to just lightly sand it down. I'm going to use Valspar bonding primer, so that will really help bond to the wood and grip it. So from there, I'm going to let that dry. I may do a couple coats of that, and then from there, I'm probably going to do a light one coat of black paint that I have, like a matte black. And then from there, I'm going to paint it white. I know I cannot leave it the wood because it'll take a lot just to sand it down and to prime it and then get it back down and stain it. And it somehow it's gonna come through again. And I just don't want that red wood. There is a place for it, and traditional homes and people who love that style, and vintage definitely loves red wood. So like red mahogany and whatnot. But I don't. So I'm going to kind of clean that down, prime it, paint it again, and possibly do that driftwood technique. Let's see what happens.